Hertzberg came up with the motivator hygiene theory. He explained that there were two basic factors that affected people in their jobs, motivating factors and hygiene factors. Motivating factors were those job elements that led people to be satisfied with their work. Hygiene factors were environmental factors that, if not managed well, led to worker dissatisfaction, but didn't necessarily lead to worker satisfaction. For example, hygiene factors include things like salary, technical supervision, working conditions, the temperature in an office place, company policies, and interpersonal relations. Motivating factors included things like a worker feeling recognized in his or her work, feeling that they could be advanced, feeling the potential for advancement, the possibility of growth in their job, the possibility for achievement, and finding pride in the work itself. Contemporary motivation theory includes expectancy theory, equity theory, and goal-setting theory, and I'll explain each of these further in the slides that follow. The expectancy theory was developed by Victor Vroom. Basically, he stated that how a person behaves on the job depends on that person's belief that their behavior will have a particular outcome and whether or not that person values the outcome. For example, if you believe that if you work really hard in your job, you'll get a pay raise and a promotion, and you value a pay raise and a promotion, then that will encourage you to work hard in your job. But let's say you don't care about making more money and you don't want to get promoted. Those aren't things that you value, and if your boss is telling you you'll get those two things, but you don't care if you get those two things, then you're not necessarily motivated to do a good job. If, on the other hand, let's say you're motivated by an all-expense paid trip to Maui, that might motivate you to do a good job because you value that the outcome. The outcome is the trip to Hawaii. If you believe that your behavior, doing a good job, will give you a desired outcome, a trip to Hawaii, then you're going to do what's expected. Equity theory states that employees will compare the rewards that they get in their job to others to determine how fairly they're being treated. You've probably seen this in your workplace where one person finds out how much another coworker is making, and either that makes them very happy and it keeps them motivated in their job, or they find out that someone's making more than them and they feel that they're doing the exact same job, and so it gets them very angry and they're not such a good worker anymore. Equity theory is based on these elements of human behavior, that worker satisfaction is influenced by a person's perception of how fairly they're being treated compared to someone else. Usually it's to coworkers, but sometimes an employee can become disgruntled if they find out that someone who has their exact same job but works at a different company makes a lot more money. This can lead to worker dissatisfaction. Within equity theory, there's upward social comparisons and downward social comparisons. Most people tend to do upward social comparisons where they compare themselves to another who's better off on a particular attribute. This usually results in decreased satisfaction. Downward social comparisons mean that a person's comparing himself to another who is worse off. Let's say you know someone who does the same job as you, but they get paid a lot less, or their benefit package is a lot worse, or they get worse hours than you get. This usually leads to increased satisfaction. This would probably lead you to feel like, wow, I got it pretty good here. I'm not going to complain. I ought to do a good job. Managers apply motivation theory through motivational job design, work scheduling options, and recognition, empowerment, and economic incentives. Motivational job design includes job enlargement, which is a job redesign technique that involves giving the worker more to do with the hope of increasing his or her job motivation. Job enrichment is a job redesign technique that attempts to build psychological motivators into the job. It's common to find the worker being given more authority in planning the work and in controlling the pace and procedures. And job rotation refers to moving a worker from one job to another for the purpose of reducing boredom. Work scheduling options can include job sharing. This would include someone who wants to spend more time at home, so he or she finds someone to basically split their job with, and so each person would be putting in 20 hours a week. There are numerous different ways that managers can use recognition, empowerment, and economic incentives through reward programs, giving out plaques, writing up a letter to the employee telling them what a great job they did, writing up their job performance in the company newsletter. Variable pay refers to pay dependent on how much and how effectively employees produce. The job characteristics model helps managers to understand that there are a number of different factors that have to be present in an employee's job for him or her to be happy. First of all, there's skill variety. That means that a particular job should have a number of different skills that are required to get the task done. If a person is at an assembly line and all they're doing is screwing in a screw all day long, they're probably not going to be real happy. Task identity refers to a person being able to see that what they accomplish at the end of the day has real visible results. Someone who is just screwing in that screw all day long may have no idea that at the end of that assembly line a car is actually produced. So task identity helps the person to see that they're playing a big part in a much bigger picture. Task significance helps the employee to understand that the job they do plays a vital role in the company's overall performance. Autonomy means that the employee is trusted to do their job well and that they won't have their boss looking over their shoulder consistently to make sure that they're doing a good job. And finally, task feedback means that the manager is going to be touching base with that employee to let him or her know that they're doing a good job, or perhaps there are areas that they need to improve on, but that the manager is there to make sure that they get the training that they need. Employees, it's proven, are known to do so much better when they're given consistent, continuous feedback.